Ever since I hit the bottom, man, doing my thing. I got a pocket full of blue boys, a Mary Jane and some new Jordans. Got a duffel bag full of blue boys. Just left the car lot, got a new toy.
Hello. Welcome to WillPower UnSurfaced. I'm your host, Khadijah Sams. And of course, you guys know my co-host doing Baynes is out right now, but hopefully on the water. And it was the perfect view. It had the perfect sunset. I loved it. So that is so much motivation for me to get back out there and sell me some properties, because me and my sister just got into real estate. So we'll be selling us some properties soon. So that is some motivation for me to get me a condo, because I loved it and I did not want to come back home and look at the bricks of my neighbor's houses across the street. So that is definitely some motivation. How you doing, cuz? So because my guest is not on, I'm opening up the lines for you guys. So if anybody wants to call in, I'm sorry about that. So if anybody wants to call in and talk to me about what you guys did this holiday weekend and while I was off, and what's going on with the kids going back to school, because school is back in, and everybody knows the kids been out of school for a little over a year. So this is the first time that the children are going back to school since before COVID. So now we have all the kids back in school, and I know that the COVID restrictions are almost back on now. So now we gotta worry about the children. We gotta see what's going on with these kids, and hopefully they will stay healthy while they're in school with this COVID, because we don't know what it's going to be like yet. School just started. I know my grandchildren just went back to school. Last week was their first day, and so far so good. They both are, well, my granddaughter's in the same school. My grandson just transferred to his sister's school, so now he's in school with his sister. And I don't know how that's gonna work out, but we'll see. I haven't had no phone calls or anything like that saying any problems is going on in school. So hopefully they're all doing well. So when Gloria comes on, she's going to be talking about she has a event coming up, and it's in Pittsburgh, and she'll have different guests on, and they'll be talking about different things. There'll be some psychologists, and there'll be a couple other speakers on. There'll be a few speakers. I think she has about 6 or 7 speakers coming. But like I said, she is stationed in Atlanta, and this week, well, it comes on the 26th. This is the 26th and the 27th. She will be in Pittsburgh. We're going to talk to her all about that. I had the pleasure of going down to Atlanta in July and speaking on her platform, and I really had a good time. She invited me down to, share my life story, which if you guys were watch the last show with EA and Yama, I went over, my situation, and I spoke about it when I was in Atlanta on Gloria's platform. And it was a pleasure being there. There was a lot of women there. There were about 16 women, maybe 20 women that came, and it was really nice. It was a small event, but I really had a good time. And it's a pleasure to be able to travel and speak and get outside of my comfort zone, because being on air by myself right now is not my comfort zone. So I am looking for a new co-host, at least until Dawn gets back. I'm looking for a gentleman. Hopefully I can find a guy out there that wants to come on. We can shoot the breeze a little bit about some sports. I love football. It's football season. And you see, guys, I got my Eagle shirt on. We won yesterday, so I'm glad about that. They talked a lot of trash about us before the season even started, so it was good to see that our team came out on top from the beginning, since we the only one in our division that won. So we shut a whole lot of naysayers up. So I'm looking for a co-host, preferably a male, and we could talk a little bit about sports, preferably a sports-educated male, so we can bounce off some statistics. So like I said, I've been out, and this real estate thing, I'm doing this now, and I almost got to sell. I almost got to sell. Hopefully I have one soon. I'm just waiting for somebody to get back to me, and that's something that I've really been wanting to do for a long time, is go into real estate. So I have the opportunity to do it with my sister, and I'm excited about us, getting ready to sell our first property. But when I was down in Maryland, there were so many properties for sale down there. Parking lots, properties, So that is something that is definitely on the list. We can buy us a condo, we can rent it out, and make us some money during the holiday season and during the summer breaks because they make a lot of money down there. I know the person who owned our condo, and it was the condo that we stayed in. It was really nice too. Had everything there. We didn't have to go out. I didn't get in the pool. It was freezing. The water was so cold, but it was nice to be able to sit by the pool and enjoy myself for a whole week, not have to work, not have to do anything, and I really, really enjoyed it. So buying a condo is definitely on our list of investments, and it'll be, a refreshing. It'll be refreshing to own something like that. So if you want to get up and leave, you can just go to your condo. You own it. Nobody can tell you can't come. So that's really, on my list. And there's a lot of vacant houses in the city, and I have been noticing in my search that we have so many vacant houses in the city that the owners haven't paid taxes on in years. And it occurs to me that the city allows these properties to sit for so long. They sit for a really long time, and I never understood why they let them sit. Now, I know that they're doing a lot of gentrifying in a lot of areas in our city, but there's also a lot of areas in our city that have a lot of vacant houses where they haven't started tapping into those markets yet. And just for the city to allow those properties to sit for so long without being maintained, or some of them not even boarded up, some of them are hazards to the homes around them, and it's just sad to see. So hopefully me and my sister can be a part of helping get some of those vacant houses off the street, because there are a lot of them. When I ride around through the city and I'm getting information, there are so many houses that just have been sitting for years and years. You would be surprised how long a lot of those houses have been vacant and how long the taxes haven't been paid on them. And it's like, it's like the city doesn't have a criteria for how long they allow a property to sit before they force the owner to sell it or take it from the owner. We do have share sale, but it's just amazing how many vacant properties we still have in the city, even though we have these share sales. There's a lot of them, so it's just unfortunate. But in West Philly, they are starting to move into those areas and doing a little bit of gentrification in West Philly. So I would suggest that if that's something that you're into, that you go out there and get some of these properties before they go sky high and people like us will not be able to get our hands on them. Because believe me, when they start to move into those properties and started renovating, those properties are going to be like South Philly. They're going to be $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and the average person will not be able to get their hands on those properties because of the prices. So I would suggest that if it's not something that you're doing now, then maybe you should try to look into it, because us as a community, and I'm talking about for the black community, many of us are not homeowners, and there's a lot of opportunity out here for us to be homeowners, and there's a lot of opportunity out here for us to own some of these homes. And I feel like we should be doing a little bit more in our neighborhoods, because if we don't buy up the properties in our neighborhood, then other people are going to come into the neighborhood, and they're not going to want us there when they get there. That's just how it goes. It seems like once they start gentrifying, or once they start moving into a certain area, the taxes become so high for the residents that are in that area that they can't afford to stay. And once they can't afford to stay there, they lose their homes. There's so many houses going on foreclosure and pre-foreclosure in those areas because those families, they can't afford to keep their property. So that's something that we really should, look into in order for us to have a hold on our own communities, because it's very reachable. It's very reachable, and it's not as hard as it seems. And there's a lot out there for us. So we should be doing our best to try to make the state, to keep our communities together, because right now it's just nothing but a bunch of, everybody knows if you're in the inner city what's going on. In the inner city's a lot of shootings, a lot of killings. But I feel like if we as homeowners get together, we can get a hold of some of our communities. And it's always better when you own a home, because then you have more say about what's going on in your community. And city will listen to you. They have the tendency to listen a little bit more to homeowners than they do to renters. So we should be trying to buy up as many of these properties in the city as we can while we can. And it's not just in Philly, even Baltimore, Detroit, so many of the inner cities in this country are starting to rebuild in these communities, and there's vacant houses everywhere. So even if you're not interested in doing something in the city, you can go anywhere in this country because they have vacant houses all over the place. And it's just sad that this is going on in our communities because it brings the property values down. So many vacant houses and so many dilapidated buildings in our community is what keeps our properties values down. And then when someone comes into our community and they buy these properties for $25,000-$30,000, they fix them up, they sell them for $400,000, and now the next door neighbors who possibly elderly, their taxes are going to go up because they just got a $300 or $400 house built right next to them, and it's happening, you know, especially in South Philly. But now it's on its way up into the West Philadelphia area. If you're in West Philly, you go around 40th and Lancaster, they have like a brand new condo building right on the corner. So they're on their way into these neighborhoods. And it's not a problem with the neighborhoods being fixed up. It's just a problem where it's like our people won't be able to have their hands on any of these property because it gets out of hand. So I'm on my way to, you know, getting my hands on some of these properties before they're out of reach. I'm sorry about that. Trying to get back on my social media page, but so that's, you know, that's what I'm in the workings with doing right now, and it's a lot out there. There's definitely a lot out there. If you just take a ride around the city, you probably won't be surprised if you live in the city, but if you go outside of the city and go into some of the other cities, you'll see the same. You'll see the same things going on. You'll see the same abandoned houses, dilapidated buildings, just a whole lot of stressful areas. And that should be addressed. It really should be addressed. And it should be addressed by the people that live in the communities because they don't expect us to fix up our own communities. And that's the problem. We get looked down upon because we don't go out of our way to make sure our communities look their best. And because we don't, nobody listens to us. You know, we the last ones that anybody listens to. But it's time that we, you know, take back control. Because I can remember when I was a kid in the 70s, our grandparents and aunts and uncles, they owned properties and they kept the blocks clean. And then, you know, I don't know what happened when everybody started moving out and people started renting the properties out. Sometimes the renters are just not as, let's just say, they don't have as much pride in a property that they're renting as they probably would in a property that they owned. And it's up to us to change our conditions, and starting with our neighborhoods. It's very important that we get our neighborhoods in check and intact because we have children, we have grandchildren, and they should be the benefactors of properties that we own and businesses that we start. And this is how it is in other communities, but when it comes down to our community, we're like the last on the totem pole when it comes to owning businesses, owning houses. Anything that seems to be uplifting of other nationalities is always the last when it comes to us. And that's, like I said, that's up to us to change our conditions. Because we wait around for a lot of things, and because we wait around for so many things, things never happen because we're always waiting. And because we're always waiting, we're last. My grandfather always used to say, wait broke the wagon. So if you don't get out there and do what you need to do, or try to uplift your community, to try to do something better than the community, keep waiting around for something, and then nothing never changes, and that keeps us in the same conditions that we already been in for so long. So it's up to us. Like I said, it's up to us as a community to do better and want better. And when people see us doing better, maybe they'll respect us a little bit more because it's been a long time, and we've been in the same position for so long. So how long are we going to continue to stay in the same positions that we've been in? You know, what would our ancestors think? What would our grandparents, our great-grandparents and parents that left properties here in these cities to their families? Just imagine how they feel about a lot of their properties sitting empty, dilapidated, unattended, unattended to, and they worked hard to buy those properties. It took them a lot, and for us to just leave them and let them dilapidate is it's sort of like a disrespect to our family members, especially if your family member left you something. If your family member left family properties for their children and their grandchildren, and the grandchildren and the children don't take care of the properties that they work really hard for, it's like a slap in the face, I would say. So that is my the reason why I am getting into this, so that my grandchildren, that I can leave my grandchildren, leave them something, and hopefully that they will continue to carry the legacy on and keep those properties that we buy and for them in good condition, so that they can have something in the future. Because I learned, I won't say I learned too late, but I learned as an adult, that ownership, property ownership in America is the number one way to get to wealth. Because not only are you owning a property that you can live in, you're owning a property that you can use as collateral for you to get other things. And that's what homeowners did. They bought their houses, and then they used their houses to borrow against their houses to start businesses or to buy other houses. And that's how wealth is attained. Real estate is the number one way to get wealthy, is through real estate. Most wealthy people are wealthy through real estate. And there's so much out here. If there's nothing else we have, there's a lot of land, and there's a lot of opportunity for us. So we need to take it seriously and start looking into different venues when it comes to businesses, because we are so accustomed to just working and going to get a job, and maybe we go to school. But when it comes to literally setting down our roots and starting a legacy for our family, we don't often jump on that wagon. And through real estate is definitely the way that you can make money and become a come up for your family, for real. So my sister and I, we took some classes, and we have a real estate coach, and he's very helpful. Of course, nothing in life is free. So we had to pay for this class, but it was really worth paying for. We learned so much, and we're on our way now. So hopefully we may have a deal in the making as we speak. And I say that because I'm serious about our community getting into real estate and getting into discussing it with our children, discussing it with our families. I saw there's a couple young men, and I think they are from the Philadelphia area. I think this is about 2 or 3 years ago. But they all saved up. I forget how much money they saved up a piece, and I think it was about 5 of them. But they saved up a certain amount of money. They put their money together for like 2 or 3 years, and they bought their first property together to flip. And I was so proud of them that they came from our neighborhood and that they put their money together and did that, because that was the first time that I had heard something like that coming from out of our neighborhoods. These young men, put their heads together, and hopefully they're on their way to doing more, because I haven't seen much about them since then. But excuse me, they did take that effort. They did put that effort out there to buy a piece of property together, and it wasn't easy, but they did it. And that was just, nothing's easy, but the reward that you get from putting yourself out there, and doing something that you didn't think you can do, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like the rewards that you get from doing anything that you put work into. It's always the reward. And so those young men, they put their money together. They bought a property to flip. And I need to check in and see if I can find out where they flipped the property at, so I can tell you guys where it was and how they did it. But, it's a lot of opportunity out here as far as real estate is in our communities, and we really should take it seriously. And because maybe we can get a hold of some of our communities, and we don't have to be upset when we see other people coming into our area, buying properties, fixing them up a way that we never thought that we could. Because when I'm riding through the city and I see these condos or just see these townhouses, it's like amazes me. And I'm from South Philly, so If if you're from South Philly, there's a whole lot of little skinny blocks down there. But when you ride down some of these blocks, they have 3-story condominiums, 4 stories, rooftop decks, and you just ride through there. Because sometimes I know, because I'm not in South Philly no more, when I go down there, it's like I go down there one week, the next week I come back, they done built condos and houses on another block. Or it's another block. Just it's like they doing it so fast. Not to say that the houses, let's just say I might have missed it. Maybe it's not that fast. But when I go down there, wherever I go, there's always new properties on any block. I don't care where I'm at down there. And when I go look up the prices, because I'm the type of person, when I see something new, I get to look. And I want to see how much they bought it for. I want to know how much they paid to fix it. So when I go in and I look at these things and I see these prices, and I'm like, why they bought their house for $20,000, or they'll buy a lot for $20,000, and they'll build a $400,000 house on their lot. And your grandmother's house might be next door, and she probably bought that house for $50,000, if that much. A lot of those properties down there that were in the family, they didn't even spend $50,000 on a lot of those properties, and then they build them, and right off the bat, $400,000. Now that's a come up if I ain't never seen one. If you buy a house for $50,000 and you sell it for $400,000, that's a come up right there. That's a big come up. But that's what they doing. They out there doing it every day, and it's not just people who are real estate investors. It's just people who just taking a chance. So that's why it's important that we do it, because if they can just come in and do it, then we can put together 10,000, put 20,000 together, and go and buy a property. We should be able to do it. It should be nothing, because we waste a lot of money on a lot of things. But when it comes to us coming together and putting our money together and doing something great, we got a problem with that. We got a problem with that, and at this rate, how long are we going to keep having a problem with it? Because if not, you're going to get so pushed so far out of the city that you and your family may not be able to live here. And then where you going to go? Because the prices in the suburbs haven't come down so you can go there when you have no place to go here. It's important that we think about the future. Because if they come into your neighborhood and they start building $300,000 and $400,000 houses out there, and you don't have enough to support yourself and pay for housing in that area, where are you going? Where are you going to go? And it's a question that needs to be asked, because it's happening before you know it. You'll look up and your neighborhood be taken over, and where are you going at? We should be thinking about these things. These things are important in our area. It's happening so fast all over the country and in the cities. And this is your neighborhood. So what are you going to do? You just going to let people come in, buy everything up, and push you out of where you live, where you grew up? Maybe you don't want to stay there, but make an investment out of it. If you don't want to stay there, build it up and sell it and make something out of it. But don't just let investors just keep coming into all of our neighborhoods and taking everything and leaving us with nothing, because it's something that we are allowing to happen. We are allowing these things to happen because we are right here, and we focus on a lot of things that are not that important. And when it comes to things like this, we don't even think about it. The average person never even thinks about it. You know what I'm saying? When they were coming in South Philly, at first you see like 1 or 2 houses getting fixed up. But then after a while, you notice, then they fixed up a whole block. And then when you decide that you're going to go buy something, now you're locked out. Now you can't buy it. Now you can't even afford to buy a lot because they're so expensive. So, us as a community, it's time for us to change our frame of mind and the way we think when it comes to stuff like that. We can't sit back and say, oh, well, they won't let us. We can buy. We can put 5 people can put $5,000 together and buy a house. It can be done. It can definitely be done. It's just all about where your mindset is and how important that is to you. How important is your community to you? How important is the future of your family, your children, your grandchildren? How important is that? because it's not just us. When we go, we leave our family members here. We leave our children, we leave our grandchildren, nieces and nephews, cousins, family. We leave them here. And maybe we should try and teach them about real estate. Maybe we should try and teach them about property value and what it means to own your own. Because they don't know. Because in school, they're not teaching our children how to buy real estate in school. And they're not teaching them about credit. And they're not teaching them about equity. None of that stuff. So if they're not going to teach our children, it's up to us. It's up to us to teach our children these things, because it's important. It's something that they need to know. They need to know that there's equity inside a house, and you can borrow against it and buy another house. It's important. And we, as a community, we don't teach our children these things, and that's how come we end up last. So it's up to me, a person like myself, who is a little bit knowledgeable, to share the information. Because I'm not one to think because I'm buying a house that I shouldn't tell other people about it. I think it's important that we share information. Because the more you share, the more comes to you. I believe that. So, it's time for us to really, really change our mindsets. It's time for us to put value back in our community. We don't have to just jump up and leave. Why don't we change the conditions that we live in? Why don't we change them? We can change the conditions that we live in, but we get too lazy and we get complacent, and we say we don't want to be bothered, or that's not my problem, or that's those people over there, or you know what I'm saying? You see a house on your block, been sitting there abandoned for 10 years, say something about it. Say something to your neighbors about it. Do we want to keep allowing our block to look like this? What do we want to do? Do we want to make the city come do something? Because in our neighborhoods, that happens. When you go out in the Northeast, even if it's a house that's empty out there, you'll never know it's empty. You wouldn't even know. Because the people in that community do not allow those type of conditions in their neighborhood. They won't allow it. They will find the owner themselves. They will find the owner of their property. They will send them a letter. They will bug the hell out of them. And that's what we need to start doing. We need to start doing stuff like that. We so quick to not want to say anything. If you don't say anything or do anything, nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes. Why can't we be a part of what's happening in the city that we grew up in? Why can't we be a part of it? Why can't our family members have properties in this area? Why can't we build some condominiums? Why can't we fix up some multifamily homes? We have so many homeless women and children and men, veterans in our city. Why should we have that when we have so many empty buildings in our community? We have empty apartment complexes in our city. Whole apartment complexes empty. They've been sitting empty for years, 20 and 30 units. Why? Why? The owner is not being responsible for the property. They let it sit there. The city clearly doesn't care if it's sitting there. And the people in the neighborhood where it's sitting there don't care either. Nobody's saying anything. It just sits there forever until the gentrification comes into your area, and then they wait, and then they'll sell their property after it's set in your community for years, dilapidated. It's unfortunate, because you would think that for all that our people went through and for all that they fought for, that we would appreciate what we have more. We would appreciate the conditions that we're in more, because we are in a better condition than they were before. But we don't appreciate it. We don't say anything. We don't do anything. And we let the same stuff continuously happen to us over and over again. So when are we going to do something about it? Because we got a chance to make our communities look good. I know where I live at, there's some empty buildings. And I asked the owners, I asked some people in the neighborhood about the building. And a couple of the neighbors said they weren't selling, they were their buildings. So then they started fixing them up. They literally start fixing them up, cleaning out the lots and everything, because they noticed that someone was interested. And because I was interested, maybe somebody else would be trying to come along and get their properties. So they start cleaning them up. So it's important. It's important. We do have a neighborhood. It doesn't have to be the way that it is. It's what we allow. It's what we allow. If we put our voices out there and get some footwork out there and start being concerned about the way things look in our neighborhoods, then we may be able to get a hold of what's going on in our neighborhood. And we may be able to beautify it and make it look better. Because we all know that when something looks good, if you go through a neighborhood and there ain't no trash on the ground and all the houses is nice and clean, when you walk through that block, you don't want to throw nothing on it. Doesn't come, a thought doesn't come in your mind to throw some trash on the ground in that block, because you don't see any. You don't see any. Everything looks good. So when you come through there, you don't think about throwing trash on the ground, because you're like, damn, this is a nice block. So if we thought more about where we lived, then we might have people come through our neighborhoods and say, don't throw nothing on the ground. This is a nice block. So we should take investing in real estate in our city seriously. We really should. We have the first black woman who runs the orphans court. Her name is Tracy Gordon. She runs the orphans court. She's a black woman. She's in charge of all of the deeds in our city. Go talk to her. Go to her office. Talk to her about the community. What's the abandoned buildings on your block? See what you can do about something that's been sitting there for 20, 30 years empty, because there are some properties that have been sitting for 20, 30 years empty. You know? I mean, that's her job. That's what she's there for. We voted her in. So if something's in our neighborhood we don't like, or it's a property that's been there for a long time and we're interested in, it's your right as a citizen to go down there to the orphans court and find out about who the owner is and what can be done about the property. We voted her in. I'm sure her office will answer any questions. She's pretty nice. I met her personally. I was at her inauguration. So we should really take these things seriously. Take them seriously. Go out there. There's properties that have taxes that are owed $5,000, $6,000. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. You can go down there, find out what you can do about a property that's been sitting and the owner hasn't paid taxes on it. Because there are ways that you can get properties without them going through the sheriff's sale. But you have to put your foot for, you gotta put your best foot forward though. You gotta have to go down there and ask a question. Ask a question about the properties that are on your block or around the corner, or maybe some you just ride by in your neighborhood. Because you never know. You may have a chance to get one of those properties and do something with it. I'm one of those people who I always wanted to flip houses. Like, I love HGTV. I watch it avidly all the time. Because in my mind, one of these days, I'm going to flip a house and I'm going to make it look just like one of those houses or better. And when I'm watching these shows, I'm not just watching them for entertainment. I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot. How they got the houses. What do they do to renovate them? And there's a lot of families on there. Mostly all the shows that I watch, the people who are buying and selling these homes, their family. They got together and they put and invested in each other. And they didn't just get on TV. They got on TV because this is what they were doing. They were doing real estate. So that's how they got there. And it's the perfect opportunity for us to do it. They're fixing up North Philly, all around Temple. They're fixing up West Philly. We got all the colleges here in West Philly. Take a chance. Just take a chance, because why not? Why not? You just never know. You just never know if you go out there and take a chance and buy something. Or go out there and try to buy something. Go out there and learn something. When you start to, I know for a fact, when you set out to do something that you've never done, doors open up. Doors always open up. It's just the way it is. When you put yourself out there to do something, the Creator will send you all the tools that you need. You may not even know the person. They may be a stranger. They may come up to you and give you some information. But you can take that information that you got from a stranger and use it to your best ability to get you to the next level of anything that you're trying to do. So it's never that we can't. We just don't spend the time to do something different. We'll kill something before we even start. We won't even put it out there before we even start it. We'll kill it. But, that's what we do. But when are we going to stop doing that and start doing something else? Start taking control of what we can take control of. It's up to us. It really is. It's really up to us to want better for ourselves and for our community. Because once you start buying houses, then you can get schools, open schools. Taxpayer money comes from real estate. The school district is paid through real estate taxes. All the schools, majority of the schools in the inner cities are being closed down. And the number one reason why is because the people that live in that neighborhood are not homeowners. So they don't have a lot of say. Many of them don't even know. A lot of them don't even know these things. So when they close our schools down, and then it's a slap in the face because they close our schools down. And what do? They build condominiums out of our schools. We allow this. When the city has meetings about things being built in our neighborhoods, we don't go. When they have meetings about schools going to be closed down, we don't go. And then when the school closed down, then everybody wants to meet. It's too late. It's too late. We should pay attention to what's going on in our community. Because we are always the first one to say, my neighborhood, my block. You don't have a block. For real. People want to go to war for a block. Why don't you buy a house on a block? How about that? Impress somebody. Because it's not your block. Because you don't own a house on the block. Your mother doesn't own that house. You're in your mother's house, but your mom don't own it. And that's the problem with us. We have a crazy outlook on things. We always want to say something is mine, mine, mine. We don't own nothing. We want to fight for a block you don't have a house for. You don't have a house. You don't even have a house on that block. So, let's just get serious about what's going on in our community. Because when they just coming in and build these houses up and make them look nice, they not making them look nice for us. So what are we going to do? Are we going to allow them to keep coming in, buying everything up, or are we going to at least throw a rock at them and try to do something? Besides just talking, because we talk a lot. But we don't put down no roots though. So when grandma passes away, the family is not even in a position where they can maintain the estate if she dies. Because they was too busy living in grandma's house but not helping and not checking to see what was going on with grandma and her taxes, if her taxes was paid or not. So now she passed away and she got a house and now you're going to lose it. Because the family members didn't get together to check to see what was going on with grandma, and then her house is going to enter foreclosure, or it's going to be sold by the city because her taxes are unpaid. And this is what's going on in our community. So go out there and at least try. See what's out there. Because it's our community, but we won't have one soon. And then where we going to go? We're not where we going to go, because I'm going to have somewhere to go, but where's everybody else going to go? Where's the people going to go who don't take stuff like this seriously? Where are you going to go? When they start selling the houses all around you and you don't own your grandmother's house, or you didn't do what you needed to do to take care of your mom's house after she passed away, and now it's either owes a lot of money in taxes, or it had so many repairs that need to be done to it because she was old and she couldn't take care of it herself and nobody cared. Because this is stuff that's really going on in our community. Family members have houses and the families don't check in to make sure that their family members' houses is maintained when they're elderly. But then when they pass away, everybody quick to want the house. But now the house got so many taxes on it, now you got to pay that. These are things that we should be paying attention to while our parents are alive. And I know for a fact, I'm speaking for me because I know how, because my father passed away. And me and my sister had to deal with this. We had to deal with that when he died. We had to pay a lawyer. People don't even know. When somebody dies, you can't just get the will. No, you have to pay a lawyer. You have to pay a lawyer to dissolve the will. So that means you have to have money. So even if your parents did have a house, if you didn't take care of while they, if they're sick, and transferring over the house while they're sick and learning how to do all of those things, when they pass away, then you got to pay a lawyer to do it. That's how it is. You can't just go to the will like on TV. No, if you're on TV, you notice, you see the lawyer. The lawyer is the one who dissolves the will. You have to have a lawyer. So, it's important that we start to take things like real estate and in our community seriously. And if your parent has something and they're getting older, watch out for them. See what's going on with their property. See if they paid their taxes. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be left up to you. And we don't take things like this seriously enough. So I say that with, knowing that what me and my sister went through when my father passed away. We learned a lot. We had to pay a lawyer. She wanted $100 an hour. $100 an hour. Just to answer some questions. And my father didn't live in this state. So we had to go 15 hours to where he lived at quite a few times. That cost money right there. Because we didn't know what was going on with my dad when he was alive. He didn't tell us, and we honestly didn't ask. For real. Because we thought he had it all together, and then he passed away so suddenly, we was just left with a whole lot of stuff to do. And we had to pay out a whole lot of money to their lawyer. And unfortunately for us, my father had all his stuff together as far as insurance and this and that. But what about when that happens to people whose parents don't have all of that together? What you going to do? So if your family is fortunate enough to have some kind of property and you have an elderly person in your family, those are questions that you should ask them. Even if they don't want to hear about it, they'll talk to you. Because it's important. Having property in your community is important. It's very important. It'll be, you'll always have some place to put your head down, and your family will own something. And that's important in this day and time, because times is changing and houses is selling fast. Like, this is the best market right now. Is the best time to buy a piece of property in this city. Or not even in this city, outside the city. Go to Baltimore. They selling a lot of houses fast down there too. But it would be in all of our best interest as a community that we take buying property and getting some real estate in our community. Make it, it's important. We need to make it a priority. It has to be a priority in all of our lives. And we shouldn't be afraid to reach out there and get into the real estate game. We shouldn't. We shouldn't. We let too many things pass us by, and we always end up last. We always end up last because we don't put ourselves out there to learn something new or to even try, even if it's right there for you. Even if it's easy. It's easy to go check something out. You can just go down City Hall just like anybody else. See an abandoned building in your neighborhood, see what you can do to get it. Because it's time for us to do something different in our community. Maybe if we clean our communities up, we won't have so many shootings on our streets because people won't hang out so much. We never know. Because that shootings and stuff like that only happen in our community in the numbers that they do. Not to say it doesn't happen everywhere, but in the numbers that we see, especially lately, it's happening in our community. So maybe if we start by owning some homes and cleaning our communities up, that could be something else that could keep a lot of that stuff down. We buy some properties and maybe we teach some of these young brothers about carpentry and plumbing and electric, and they won't have to be out in the street. Because college ain't for everybody. But you always need general contractors to build houses. Always. We can teach them. Who taught our grandfathers? They ain't go to college. My grandfather was a contractor, and he didn't even graduate high school. But he could build a house, and a damn good one too. Because somebody taught him. And that's what we need to be doing for our youth. We need to get some men out here that's doing these things, that's hands-on, and taking these youth under their wing and do some apprenticeships and teach them about the real estate and teach them how to flip houses and teach them how to do electric and plumbing. So that when we buy these properties, we can use the youth in our communities to do the work in them. And it would change so much. It would change a lot. It would change everything, for real. It's important. And how much longer are we going to wait? Because we talk a lot. But how much longer are we going to wait before we actually do something to improve our own communities without the help of someone else? Without waiting to get something from someone who doesn't really want to give us to us, who don't really want to give it to us. When we can do these things ourselves. Because we see Asians and Mexicans, and they come in and they buy the properties and they fix them up. And we've been here. What the hell is we waiting for? We've been here. How do they get a chance to get above us? And I'm not hating on them. But I'm just saying, for us, how did we allow them to come above us when it comes to the economics in this country? When we've been here. We've been here. It's time for us to do something different. And it's time for us to take our community back by owning our communities. By buying a home and helping people in our communities move in them and own them. And that's what we should be doing as a community. We should be helping each other. And we should be teaching each other how to do things like own homes, fix your credit. Because it's important. And then we won't have to worry about where our grandchildren are going to lay their heads at in 10 or 15 years. Because we taught them how to buy a house. And we taught them how to fix it. These things are essential to life itself. There's nothing more important than having a roof over your head. Nothing. Especially if it's yours. So I say that we take real estate in our community serious. I say that we start trying to buy some of these properties in our community. I say that we go to City Hall and find out who owns them, how long they've been sitting there, what can we do to get this empty house of our block? Because it's important. Because if it's not important to us, it's not important to nobody else. Because we barely can get somebody to rent us a house. We barely can get somebody to rent us a house. But you can go buy you a shell. They got all kinds of grants and all kinds of stuff to help. People use them all the time. You can get that stuff when you put your foot out there. When you make a start, you can get the help. Because I know people who flip houses that get grants all the time. All they had to do was buy the property. They get the grant from the government to fix it. Just go get it. And then you can go after that. But first you got to get it first. And first you got to teach our families how to do it and our kids how to do it. So they could say, my mother taught me how to buy a house. My mother taught me about credit. My father taught me how to do electric. My uncle, cousin, somebody. And put some pride back into our communities. Because we don't have no pride in our community. That's how come it's trash all over the street. Because we don't care. You know, it don't have to be that way. My neighbors sweep up on our block. We don't live in a great area, but our block is always clean. Because the people that live on my block, they live there for a long time. So when they see trash outside, they sweep it. And because they do it, the young guys that be on the block, they'll grab the broom and sweep. It's all about what you put out there. Because the people on that block, they own those houses. They bought them a long time ago. It's important to them that even though the neighborhood is not the greatest, it's important for them that they block stay clean. Somebody just bought a house on the block and just remodeled it. Black owners. So we can do these things. It's just up to us. What we gonna do? So my guest, she just got in. Hold on. Hello. My guest is on the line. What is that doing? Hello? I can't hear him, Toucan. Sorry about that. Wait for my guest. Toucan just moving the phone. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Is this Dawn?
Yes, it is.
Hi,
Good evening.
How are you doing? This is my co-host.
I'm good. Hey, everybody. I miss you guys.
I miss you too. So what's going on with you, ma'am?
I'm at work, and I just said, well, let me call. I looked at the time because I know I told you I would try to call in a little earlier. So hello to the guest, and thank you for joining Khadijah tonight.
Well, my guest, she didn't make
it.
it.
The replay.
Yeah, she didn't get to make it on, though. So I've been talking to my listeners about buying some real estate in our community. That was my topic today.
Okay.
So I've been talking to them about a little bit what I'm doing and encouraging the people in our community to look into some of the abandoned properties in their area and see if they can get their hands on some.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've been talking to my guests about. I mean, my listeners.
Okay, awesome. And with all these, first-time home buyer loans, and I know, you're talking like if it's wholesale, however it is, just, put that PPP money to some use. And if PPP comes out again, somebody let me know so I can sign up.
Right.
Okay? So it won't be no fraud. I'll make good use of the money because I ain't going to jail.
Absolutely. Right. Nobody want to go to jail. But it ain't going to be no fun if you can't use the money. For real. It ain't even worth it.
If that's the case, I'm going to hold some for my attorney fees.
You can bail yourself out and get paid for the lawyer. Yes. For real.
Real rap.
That's what I've been talking to them about us having a little bit more pride in our communities with so many abandoned buildings in our community. We should be able to get a hold of our communities before someone else comes in and takes them from us. Yes.
I agree, because gentrification has really taken over our area. Unfortunately, we were a little slow on the draw for some people,
right.
And they're just taking over.
And it definitely is. And I was speaking how there's still a chance for us to get our hands on some things, and that we should definitely be looking into that. definitely, because it can change the whole plight of our community if we own homes where we live. It'll be such it will change. It will change the dramatics
Right.
of where we live by a lot.
I agree.
Because people are more apt to take care of things when they own their home. So it's important for us to go out here and get some, and that's what I was speaking on today.
Okay.
But I'm glad you got to call in because I'm about to get off the air now because Tunnel Bangers is getting ready to come on. But I was glad to hear your voice. My guest didn't get to make it. She was supposed to have been, she had got double booked for an interview, and so she forgot.
Okay. All right. Well, at least she'll reschedule.
Yes,
She'll
definitely.
Happy birthday, Toucan. I said publicly, happy birthday. I hope you had a great time. Hey, Spanish Fly, is EA in the building?
No, EA not here today. I ain't see him unless he out there. He ain't coming because he usually come in the holler if he's here. So I ain't see EA today.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
Shop. Hey, everybody. Hey, Shop. Everybody. I got to come see you guys soon.
Yes, definitely come through and see us because we miss you here, Dawn.
I'm going to come through soon.
But I want to thank
All
you
right,
for
well,
calling
I'm glad
in.
you had a great time because I know it's time to, you're ready to close out. But
Yes.
I'm glad just to be able to hear your voice, and to all of our Glockaware listeners, thank you. Our WillPower listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you for staying the course. Thank you for keeping the Khadijah encouraged to keep going. So, and I look to see you guys on air very soon.
Yes. Hopefully we'll see you soon. I miss you so much. And that is going to be it for this episode of WillPower UnSurfaced. I want to thank everyone who tuned in tonight, and we will see you all next week. Thank you.